Howdy, folks. K-Dog back here. Got another DVD and Blu-ray update. So, do have a little bit of a stack here. So if you can see how high my hand is, that's how high the stack is sitting on a printer that's way down here. So, yeah. So let's roll the intro. We'll get right into it. Okay. First off, got a Blu-ray of, I never owned any of these movies, but I had seen these movies. And it's a Stallone triple pack featuring Rambo First Blood, which was just titled First Blood, but they put Rambo on it. Copland and Lockup. And now, everyone knows, Rambo, that whole story. Copland is where Stallone plays a sheriff of a small town. There's a crime that goes on in a big city, and he ends up being the one taking him down. And Lockup is the one where he's locked up in prison for hard time for something that he didn't even do. And his warden is the evil Donald Sutherland, and he's keeping him in there. So yes, the Stallone triple pack, $7.88 at Walmart. So next up, these next two are also from Walmart. They're $5, so be watching out for that. If YMMV, if your Walmart carries it. Oops, I'm dropping them. I upgraded my copy of School of Rock to Blu-ray. $5. And Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Yeah, these are $5, so people watch out for that. So there's some really good titles in there. There's also The Firm, Days of Thunder, several other titles. So just check it out, see what you think. Next up, I got this at FYE because I got this for free because I had purchased a TV series, which we'll get into later on. So they gave me this DVD for free, and it's a Family Guy DVD, and it's the 3 episodes that have the giant chicken. It's the most famous 3 episodes that have the giant chicken in it. So yeah, it's nothing. Next up, I don't remember where I got this, but anyway, it's Treasure of the Sierra Madre with Old Bogey, Humphrey Bogart. I've been wanting to check this out because if anyone who's a big fan of Indiana Jones, things like that, this was one of the movies that inspired them one of the inspirations to make Indiana Jones, because they took, as you can see, they kind of took Bogey's look in this film. So, and they also developed his personality kind of along the lines of Humphrey Bogart in that film. Next up, I got I got the Treasure of the Sierra Madre at FYE, as well as this. John Carpenter's The Thing. Now, I'm not a horror movie guy at all, but this is more of a sci-fi thrill ride. Really, I watched it. I did not find it all that scary. The thing is, I can see why people thought it would be a little bit terrifying, is because it's more about the paranoia, because you don't know who is a thing, who is and who isn't a thing, who's, telling, who doesn't even know themselves. Yeah, there's plenty of people that talk about this movie Zarin Isaac is one of them. He's a big fan of it, and he can explain things better than what I could, because he's more of a fan than I am. But it's a really good thrill ride, really good sci-fi. I would say it fits along the same line. To me, it fits along the same lines as Alien. But the difference is that I think this would be a little bit more, frightening, because Alien, you could see the monster coming. The only thing is it did have the ability to kind of camouflage itself, but you knew that it was a monster. In this, you don't know what the monster is. It could be anybody. Next up, I picked this one up at Best Buy this Tuesday, and I thought this was a phenomenal movie. I did a movie of the week on it because I did see it in the theater. Saving Mr. Banks, which basically tells the whole true story about how Walt Disney made Mary Poppins. So, Tom Hanks and Emma Thompson, brilliant performances out of both these actors in telling this story that, considered, the Mary Poppins was considered Walt Disney's crowning achievement, and it never would have happened. So if she didn't, give in to what he wanted to do, and you can see in this film it tells the whole story about why she was the way she was, and not wanting to give just sign over the rights to Mary Poppins, because Mary Poppins was a very, very, very important story in her life. Next up, I got this from Barnes & Noble, and it's really a movie. It'd be a classic. This isn't the only adaptation of this story, but instead of watching stuff like Robin Hood Men in Tights, or Robin Hood Prince of Thieves, or even the Walt Disney's Robin Hood, how about Errol Flynn's starring in The Adventures of Robin Hood? Yeah, this is kind of where it all. This is kind of one of the most famous ones, if not one of the first ones. I'm not quite sure, but it's a wonderful adventure flick. Also, there's a boatload of features on here just about the making. There's two in-depth commentaries. There's an introduction of. There's a whole experience here. If you put this in your Blu-ray player, only on Blu-ray, not on DVD, what they have is a Leonard Maltin hosts Warner Night at the Movies, 1938, featuring vintage reel, featuring musical short Freddie Rich and his orchestra, classic cartoon Catnip College, and Angels with Dirty Faces, third theatrical trailer. So what they would do is and on this Blu-ray is they recreate what a night at the movies would be in 1938, and how at the time, in the 1930s, the studios controlled the theaters. Nowadays, we have theater chains and actual companies that control what gets played on their screens, rather than the studios. But back then, the studios owned the theaters, and the theaters controlled what the public was going to. Or the studios controlled what they wanted the public to see and not. And eventually, by the 1950s, that all got into a big debacle. One of the famous ones is between MGM and Paramount. So, that's why we now have theater chains like AMC, Cinemark, Regal, companies like that who actually deliver the content to us rather than the studios doing that. But also on this Blu-ray about Robin Hood, getting back to that, there's a couple of Looney Tunes cartoons on here that involve Robin Hood. One of them is Rabbit Hood with Bugs Bunny, and Robin Hood Daffy. So there's a lot of stuff on here. There's too much to list, so you got to check this out. Check out this Blu-ray for yourself. Next up, got this at Big Lots, because Big Lots is now starting to sell Blu-rays. I got The River Wild. Now, it's not the greatest movie, but I remember really liking this as a kid, especially in my, as a teenager. I really enjoyed this movie because it really had the bad guy who you love to hate. Kevin Bacon is such a jerk in this movie, and you want to see him get killed. Yeah. If anyone knows the story of this movie, it's about this family played by Meryl Streep and David Strathairn. They end up taking this canoe trip on vacation, and David Strathairn and Meryl Streep are going through marital problems. They're trying to, recoup their relationship and get back together. So they decide to take this canoe trip. Not a canoe, but a river rafting trip. And there's a couple of guys who had just committed a huge robbery at this cattle auction, played by Kevin Bacon and what's his name, John C. Reilly. Before he turned comedian, he was a serious actor, and so they end up hitching a ride with this family. At first, they don't know that they're robbers until the bad guys start turning a little bit more creepy. They start the first telltale is that Meryl Streep decides to go and take a bath into the river, and Kevin Bacon is watching her bathe. And so they decide to ditch a plan to, leave these guys, go off on their own, just kind of sneak off. But anyway, then the long story short, they start pulling a gun out, and they said, we're going to be taking your raft, and you're going to take us to our destination. And there's a lot of danger that ensues because it's not just the bad guys, it's also the river itself. That there's a humongous section of the river that is, matter of fact, is outlawed, and the family has to go down it just to get to the destination. Next up, the next three of these I got at FYE. I got The Nutty Professor. Never owned this. So this is an entirely new title to the collection. I've never owned this on DVD or Blu-ray until now. So, yeah, this is just a great movie to watch. A funny movie to watch, on any format. However, sadly, Eddie Murphy cannot get past playing characters like this. I mean, look, he as soon as he made this, he went and made Life, which was also a decent movie. Then he made The Clumps, which some would say is even funnier than this. I think that one's funny too. But then he couldn't get past that, and then he ended up doing things like Daddy Daycare, Norbit. He couldn't get past doing kind of the likable guy and all swell, and he does play the villain in this. Don't get me wrong, but he couldn't get past playing these awkward characters, especially like Norbit. That's just a Nutty Professor knockoff. I mean, and it's been, Eddie Murphy has yet to recoup his stardom because of that. Next up, also never owned this on DVD or Blu-ray until now. Someone's at the door. But but I had owned it on VHS, and I'd rented it, and it's Meet the Parents. Uh, don't know about the other. I don't know if I'm going to get the other two movies, but yeah, definitely Meet the Parents. Funny movie, hilarious with Robert De Niro, Ben Stiller. This one also I got at FYE. I've been looking for this for quite some time. I was wanting the Blu-ray edition of it, but you know, I'd be happy to settle for I just wanted to see the movie. You know, I could care less about special features really. You know, if I really want to see a movie, I'll get it regardless on what format it is. But it's In the Heat of the Night with Sidney Poitier and Rod Steiger. Now, this film is one of those movies that started a TV show. There was a TV show in the 80s also called In the Heat of the Night. It was based off of this. Sidney Poitier plays Virgil Tibbs, who's a Philadelphia detective who's just on a trip. He's just vacationing to the south to visit his mother, I believe, and he's waiting on the train to take him back home, and all of a sudden there was a murder committed in the middle of the night. And the police chief, played by Rod Steiger, Chief Gillespie, says to his deputies, go and find whoever is still awake at this hour, and go arrest them, or apprehend them, because they're now a suspect in question. Because, you know, at the time, you know, there would be a town curfew and no one's supposed to be out. Well, the deputy ends up finding Sidney Poitier waiting at the train station. And he's accused of, first of all, they start accusing him of murder. But then they quickly, within the first 15 minutes, they find out that he's not the murderer. But his police chief in Philadelphia says, stay there in Georgia. Is it Georgia or Alabama? I think it's Alabama. It's Alabama, I'm sorry. Stay there in Alabama and help them solve this case. Because, you know, this is a small town, and, you know, they're going to need help, you know, finding out this problem. And you end up finding out who the murderer is, and there's several twists. Again, they did make the TV show off this, so if you see the TV show on WGN, that's what the show came from. It came from this movie, and at the time, it came just before Martin Luther King was shot. And so it was really a different film. It was really controversial at the time because, you know, here was not only was there a black man portrayed as a hero, but it was a black man who took revenge on whoever treated him like dirt. Matter of fact, there's one documentary on here. They talk about the scene where he slaps the white man, and it was titled "The Slap That Was Heard Around the World." And they talk about, you know, how controversial that was, and you know, that was quite different for a film of that time, or anybody at that time. You know, a black man just didn't do that. But it signified that, you know, it's a time for change, and not only that, a black man is just as equal as a white man. Next up, got this one at Barnes & Noble, and was kind of waiting on this one. There's one that comes out this Tuesday I want to get, part of the Criterion collection, and this one is The Fantastic Mr. Fox. Yeah, the Wes Anderson stop-motion animation flick came out back in 2009, and has voices of Meryl Streep, George Clooney, Jason Schwartzman, Bill Murray, Willem Dafoe, and Owen Wilson. They're all voices in this film. Now, interesting with Criterion, this is the first I've ever seen Criterion do this, is that they have the Blu-ray and DVD combo packs. And they even put a special featured a disc for the DVD. While it still has the Blu-ray, the Blu-ray has all the content on one disc. And this is the first time I've ever seen Criterion do something like this. They also did the same thing with Nashville, where they put the Blu-ray and they had the DVD supplement. They had the DVD supplements and the DVD movie. So yeah, the Fantastic Mr. Fox. It makes me wonder what else they're going to be bringing out on Criterion. In terms of American films. There's one I would kind of like them to see them put on. I thought it was kind of underrated. It came out about the same time, and that's Where the Wild Things Are. I think that one would be a good one for Criterion to put out. So, down to the last three here. Got this one at FYE. The Deer Hunter, Robert De Niro. Man, I picked up a lot of movies with Meryl Streep in it for some reason. Yeah, Robert De Niro, Meryl Streep, and Christopher Walken in a classic Vietnam flick. Next up, I got this at Barnes & Noble because they were having a sale on Academy Award-winning movies, and this was one of them, and that would be Chariots of Fire in the nice digibook edition. Now it comes with the movie on Blu-ray, you can see there, and it has all the information about the movie and the book and all that, but it also has a soundtrack sampler. So it has the theme, the title theme, has Abraham's theme, Eric's theme, and Jerusalem. So it actually has a bit of a CD soundtrack sampler. So yeah, there's Chariots of Fire. And last, certainly not least, I used to watch this show when it originally ran in the 1980s. This was my favorite show. I love to watch this show. I will be picking up the other seasons because there was only 4 seasons in this entire series. And that is Alf. Yeah, this is season 1. I know some people complained about these sets because when Lionsgate picked up Alf for DVD, they were only able to get a hold of the syndicated cuts. They were not able to get a hold of the actual network broadcast cuts. So, but needless to say, I'm happy to have this TV show on DVD. I could care less. Some people do. If a show like this, they want the full broadcast cuts. But yeah, this is this classic 80s TV, So there you have it. There's the haul for this time around. Don't know when the next one will be, but I think the next movie of the week I'm going to be doing In the Heat of the Night because I really want to talk about that film. So, from me to you, see you later.